Welcome to episode 23 of the Flag Stays Down podcast. This is the Billy Gilmore episode. Got Matt representing with his number 23 Billy G jersey. And the boys are all back. Matt, Parker, welcome back. Happy to have you guys. Joe, at Joe Mach, we appreciate you filling in last week. But boys, there's nothing like an all Chelsea podcast.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Joe, thank you for stepping in. It's always kind of fun to wake up on a Monday and get to listen to my own podcast when I didn't get to hear the conversation live. So, Joe, thanks for stepping in. Collins, thanks for holding it down. And Matt, welcome back to the States, baby.
Good to be back. Appreciate it, boys. I'll echo the same statement. Our boy, Joe Mach, appreciate you taking the time out and talking a little footy. And Collins, obviously holding down the fort per usual. So we definitely appreciate that. But yeah, I'm relaxed. I'm relatively rejuvenated and ready to get back at it.
Well, talking about getting right back at it, just want to real quick introduce the world to our typical FIFA rules. And that's anytime you hit the woodwork, post, crossbar, whatever, you owe a drink, usually the hard stuff. Boys, we did that 3 times this weekend, so we'll take a real quick break just to take those sips right now.
Yeah, cheers to the listeners.
Ooh, man, I don't know why I keep going back to Eagle Park for bourbon. It's not pleasant. For those of you who don't know, Eagle Park is a brewing company here in Milwaukee, and they just decided to make spirits as well. Not well recommended by me.
From what I remember, it's a little harsh.
Yeah, little bit.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into the football here. We're finally back. International break. Come back for an FA Cup tie at home against Plymouth Argyle. For being a League One side, they put up a fight. They open up the scoring shockingly in the 8th minute. Macaulay Gillespie scores off a header off the free kick. Chelsea does tie it back up in the 41st as Dave scores honestly a doozy off a ball from Mason Mount. Then finally, our guy, Marcus Alonso, Mr. Clutch, finishes a great Kai Havertz cutback in the 106th minute. This one wasn't laid to rest at that point, though. Kepa Arrizabalaga forced into yet another penalty save in, what was that, like the 118th minute, something like that. So crazy game, not how we want to be coming back from an international break going into the Club World Cup, but at the end of the day, we're through to the 5th round, got Luton Town coming up later in the month here. So, Matt, I know you just watched this game. Now that you're back in the States, what were your impressions on this one?
I'm glad I didn't watch it live. I probably would have had an aneurysm. So props to you boys for fighting through it. Looking at after watching the game and then looking at the stats, it seemed like a very FIFA-esque game where you didn't think it was going to happen. 41 total shots, and I think it was 17 corners. How do you not score? Or at least, how do you not put away a third of those chances?
We had 20 corners, according to WhoScored.com.
Sorry, I'm mistaken. That doesn't. That just kind of adds to the case. I don't know what to make of it. Should we be in a scrap and a dogfight like that? No. Then again, it is the FA Cup. We've seen that this is a tournament known for the lower clubs knocking out Premier League teams consistently. That's the way it's been ever since that the tournament's been held. Obviously, Man U is out to Middlesbrough. They're kind of doing their thing. It's just kind of the magic of it. So I'm not surprised, but at the same time, it's the same old Chelsea that we've kind of been dealing with for the last month and a half, just kind of limping by, and we're almost escape artists at this point. And you don't like to see it with a team that has that much quality, and especially going up against a team. I think they're 48 places below us in English football. That's a game that you should dominate, you should win handily. And the fact that we didn't handle it in 90 minutes is a little bit disappointing and a little bit frightening.
It was frightening, wasn't it, Matt? This one's a tough one for me because we get the win. We did what we had to do. Kepa comes up in the clutch, and we'll get to Kepa a little bit later as we discuss. But this one reeks of I don't even care what the scoreline was, as long as you handle your business as a team, and you take care of business. You should be able to just kind of control the game and see it out and not really give up too many chances, too many good looks. And Plymouth had a lot of good chances and good looks and good opportunities, and they took it to us a couple of times. In our group chat, Collins said, Plymouth is taking it to us. And it's those are words I never thought I would read on my screen. It's hilarious in a sense that was the case. And so the scoreline doesn't bug me as much as how we looked at times and how they were in this game in a big way. And they had a shot to tie it late, and they had a shot to put another game on our schedule, which, as I told my wife, that would have been worst case scenario. It's another game to the schedule, and we still have the chance to lose later on. So that's double jeopardy almost. So I was disappointed by that. I say that also knowing that we hit the crossbar and post, 3 total times. So if 2 of those go in, it's a completely different game and completely different look. And I have to take some of the fortune, out of the equation like that. So focus on some of the positives, right? Ziyech looked pretty good. Mason Mount looked good. It was a de-rest match for our boys where we had probably the longest break we've had, all season, almost all season, arguably all season, where we had 10 days off. So it was a de-rest match for our boys, and we got the win. So I can't be all upset about it. So that's, I don't know. That's, I guess, my summary of it. Collins, what says you?
I wish I was a neutral this weekend, because you talk about the magic of the FA Cup, and this year's FA Cup 4th round was amazing. I watched it all weekend. There was nothing like it. You had Manchester United lose to Middlesbrough, which, best penalty shootout I've seen probably ever. You had Kidderminster almost upset West Ham. They took them to extra time in a ground that seats 3,500. It was fantastic to watch. And then you got results today like Nottingham Forest beating Leicester. You got I forgot the name of the team that beat Bournemouth, but they're a 5th division side. So as a neutral, it was fantastic, and I thought the Chelsea-Plymouth game just added into that, and it's exactly what we talked about 2 weeks ago, I think, where it was, is the FA Cup worth it? Is all it's hyped up to be? Absolutely it is. It just sucks to watch it as the supporter of a big club, because big clubs are doomed to fail in this competition. Getting specifically into the Chelsea part of it, the thing that rubbed me the wrong way the most, honestly, and what probably could have avoided all of it together was the selection at striker. Rom looked out of sorts. Rom was terrible. And actually, we're going to get right into our first listener question. And this comes from at Lennox_10_. Good friend of the pod here. We appreciate his question. His first question is, why Chelsea not play so good? Kind of jokingly, but why is Lukaku continuing to start? He says it's all that's on his mind after that match. And dude, after this game, yeah, it's a great question. Why is he getting bodied by League One defenders? Why is he only winning one aerial duel where a ball just smacked right off his face? against League One defenders. His movement was terrible, which is something that he has said is his strength, his movement off the ball and on the counter and all that. It was awful again. His passing wasn't fantastic at all. He had 2 shots. $100 million striker had 2 shots. I don't know why he's still starting. It's a great question. Maybe it comes down to the price tag, but I wish Kai and Timo had a little bit more reps at the moment, because they look rusty coming on, and that's probably why Rom is starting, because everyone else is rusty at this point. But something has to be done going forward, in my opinion. Matt, what do you think? How did Rom do? Why is he still starting?
Well, the price tag is definitely a big influence on that. You're not going to bench somebody that you paid $100 million for. It's just not going to happen. Like there's no way around that. I think Tuchel is really trying to get Rom his confidence back by playing him, especially after the well-documented Sky Italia interview. I think he's trying to make sure that people know, like, he is still with Chelsea. He's still backing him, because and Tuchel's very smart. He knows that as soon as you start ousting one of your most expensive players, you're going to have real issues going forward. So I think that's why he's doing that. Colin, you made a great point. Running at defenders is his strength. I can't see him take more than 2 dribbles and then all of a sudden he loses the ball. He's not, and he even said, he doesn't like being like a hold-up striker. That's the best thing he does. It really is. That's the best thing he does. Whenever he does try and run at defenders, he is very slow. And when I say slow, I mean, whenever he gets that first touch, everybody knows that he's going to make some sort of move that gives the defense time to get back, that basically locks up any gaps that other runners have made going forward. He's just too slow when he's on the ball. If you give him an open space, sure, I can understand that. Big, strong body. He's got some pace to him. But no, if you get him in a one-on-one situation, I don't trust him to score in that at all. I expect him to honestly lose the ball more than I would him to get a shot off. But I don't know. It's an interesting problem that we have right now, because what do you do if you're the club, if you're the manager? You spent all this money. He was our 4th option at striker. He put up great numbers in Italy, which fine. I honestly think that was probably the best that he's ever played, was in Italy. So you take the chance on somebody who's been playing very well for 2 years prior and bring him back to a league that he's very familiar with. And I don't know, he started off hot, then he wasn't, then he got injured, and then the report came out. I think Tuchel is really just trying to get back some of the confidence and try and have the fans trust him again. But it's very hard to do that when you're not producing for your price tag.
Yeah, the why is he playing makes a whole lot more sense to me than the what's wrong with him question, I guess. The why is he playing is A, because he costs a lot of money, and B, anytime anyone else has gotten the start above him, they don't do shit with it either. So if you put Timo Werner in there and then he starts scoring 2 goals a match or a goal every 2 matches or whatever, then he would play. Then Timo would get the job easily. If he was, scoring at will or scoring anywhere close to where he was in the past, few seasons, then he would get the job, and then Rom would be benched. It's really easy to play someone who's in form over you, but When you play Kai and Kai doesn't score, and you play Timo and he doesn't score, you play Pulisic and he doesn't score, then now you're just like, well, none of them are scoring. So you kind of revert back to option A, which is your big body, someone you can work off of. And the other thing I wanted to say about it is it's still a work in progress. It's still we don't know how necessarily to use him. We don't know what his best position is. Sometimes we don't know if he wants to play back to the ball or with the ball at his feet or running into space or what it is. He doesn't do a lot with the balls that he gets across to him. So that kind of has always frustrated me. I see his hands on his head more than I do, in the air, right? He's usually upset with his finish in the box or his header or whatever it is, if he can win the header, that is. So, I know why he's starting, and I get what Tuchel's doing. Matt, you've said it, so I don't really need to rehash it. But I would love to see Timo in there, because if the only thing we're saying is his strength is kind of when he's in space, I'd rather have Timo in space, because I can play longer balls and have him go run at it. And Timo's faster than him, and I'd rather create space that way. And so the only thing I see that Rob does give us a different dimension with is his hold up play. And that's where I think his strength is. And he definitely takes bodies with him. And so he's almost just like the best $100 million decoy you could ever have. Because if he's running into the box, then people go with him, and then other people are sort of freed up. So our defenders can score goals, right? Because we're a defender scoring team at will, because Dave gets our one goal, and then everybody's favorite left back, who's been on everyone's hit list, sell list, never play again list, Marcus Alonso, makes a good pass, makes a good run, and slots home a ball. It's funny to say it, but I don't know if Ram slots that ball in if he gets it at his feet. I really don't. It's so elementary. It seemed like such an easy move, and man, I don't know if he makes the run, and I don't know if he slots it in. So I'm over him. I don't need to see him out there again. I just know that we don't have anyone dominant to replace him with, and I just really wish a hungry someone who wants to justify his position in the team came in and started scoring goals. I just wish we had it, and it's kind of sad to say that we don't.
So I've done some thinking about it, and you guys have brought up some great points, and you've kind of led me in a way here. Maybe Rom shouldn't be starting. That's what I'm hearing from you guys. Tuchel was out with COVID, so you had Arno Mikkels calling the shots. Although there are reports, Tuchel had, on the phone, making calls in. But if you're the right hand man of the manager and you're left in charge of a cup tie, that you don't want to be the one that's blamed for bowing out to a League One side, I think you're going to play your $100 million striker. So I think there was a little bit of that going on. But honestly, I think this one was a turning point. And we've seen Chelsea bench expensive players before. Fernando Torres, if you want to go all that way back. Even as recent as Kepa Arrizabalaga. Went out and bought a cheap striker who was out of work 2 years prior. And is now African champion. Shout out to Edward Mendy on that. But from what I saw in this match, this may be one of the last matches consistently that Rom starts. I mean, we've broken it down before. We drop points in 41% of the matches that Rom starts compared to 23% that Timo starts. So yeah, even though the goal production is about the same, there's a difference in the way the team plays. There's a difference in winning and all that. But Rom played 120 minutes in this one, right? Had 31 touches. Callum Hudson-Odoi played 60 minutes and had 36 touches. I don't know if you guys remember this one specifically, but we were on the counter. It was 1-1. Hakim Ziyech and Rom playing 2 against 1 on the counter. Rom's calling for the ball, makes a run. Ziyech takes it himself. We turn it over. We don't score on it. But Ziyech and Rom are supposed to be buddies. They're supposed to be the good pals. They went on vacation together. They were all over Instagram together playing Uno. And then Ziyech just doesn't find Rom with it. If your good friend on the squad doesn't trust you against a League One side on a counterattack, how's the rest of the squad supposed to respond? I think honestly this has been a turning point for Rom, and he'll still start some matches going on as we continue on the season here, but it's not going to be as many. It's just like with a manager. When you've lost the dressing room, you're done. There's nothing you can do. And we've seen that the squad, we've heard that the squad came out and said, Tuchel, yeah, you're handling this whole Rom thing perfectly by leaving him out against Liverpool.
Yep.
So it's only a matter of time. Lennox, you just got to hold on a little bit longer, maybe past the Club World Cup, and then hopefully we got Timo or somebody else starting up top.
Give me Harvey Vale.
When we played Chesterfield, though, like we had 5 goals in that game, and that was one where kind of everyone got their goal and everyone felt good about it. Yeah, you have to think about it like we kind of discounted it because it's the FA Cup and it's against Chesterfield, and even if Rom would have scored on like a tap in, it's still not the most impressive thing. I mean, you don't sign Rom to score against Plymouth Argyle. You sign Rom to score against Liverpool, against City, against United, against Newcastle or Stoke. Someone big, someone in a rough environment, someone in a rainy day. Like that's where you sign big people to score. And he can't even do it against Plymouth at home in the FA Cup. Like, that's where it's just like, man, and he didn't look good. He didn't look positive. He didn't make runs. He didn't control the ball. That's where it's just seriously. If he would have hit the crossbar 3 times, I have a different sentiment about this. But he didn't. Everyone else did, but he didn't, and he didn't look good. Everyone else looked all right. He didn't look good.
One other thing that I noticed is on almost every single corner that Chelsea had, all 20 of them, I think he got off the ground twice. Got off the ground. That's bad. When you are that size, and he can jump. At least I think he was able to. I mean, he can't win an aerial duel for shit, but he used to be able to jump. And you don't even get off the ground. That's bad.
So we've seen the pictures of Rom, ripped. Does he skip leg day?
He must. He must at this point. He's not the same player that he was at Inter. He's just not. And maybe it's, I don't want to call Serie A like a lower league, but it's borderline top 5. It just kind of is. Yeah. And when you only have 4 big teams in Serie A, yeah, that's good. You can score. That's great. But other than that, doesn't mean shit. And that's the thing that surprises me is that I think he became so comfortable at Inter, and especially with the stats that he put up there. Like I said, he had a great run at Inter. He was putting up ridiculous numbers. Well, this is the Premier League. It's not Serie A. And he knows the environment. He's played at West Brom. He's played at Everton. He's played at Chelsea. He's played at Man U. He knows what he's getting himself into. You gotta, and at this point, it doesn't matter where you came from, what league. If you have Premier League experience, we expect you to play at that level. He's not doing it right now. And I think that his confidence is shot to hell. He needs almost like a perfect ball every single time, like a millimeter perfect ball every single time.
No, all right.
Otherwise, he's not going to score.
Let me stop you there, because Hakim Ziyech had about 19 perfect balls
in the first half.
That Rom just didn't move.
Yeah. Oh, no, I completely agree. I completely agree with that. But the thing is, if it's off by like a millimeter, he's like, oh, he always just throws a little kind of little thumb up and okay, yeah, it was good.
King of
and
the
then
thumb.
nothing. Yeah. And then nothing.
It needs to be perfect, and the goalie needs to be like reading a book, and like, you know, the sun can't be in his eyes. That it's got to be perfect pass and a couple other things, man.
And the wind has to be blowing in a particular direction at a certain speed. That's what it seems like. It has to be a perfect storm for him to score. And you pay $100 million for that? No. I will take my chances with Timo. I will take my chances with Kai. I will take my chances with Harvey Vale. The one thing, Collins, because I know that we're kind of getting into that, is Kai and Timo. I've never seen a duo more offsides in my life.
Okay, never mind. You said duo. I was going to say Murata.
No. Combined, they were Murata-esque. Except for the one where Kai was onside, and that's how we got the goal. But Timo and Kai probably racked up about 8 offsides calls in about, 30 minutes? Granted, they were somewhat close, but you can't have that. If you're coming in and you're expected to score goals, you need to stay onside. And the fact that they do it so frequently, especially Timo, he does it so frequently. And that's one of his biggest downfalls, is that he plays so close to the edge that he's usually offside when he already knows that he has the pace that he could give a step and probably get to it. I don't like it. He needs to figure it out. This might just be a kind of a random thing, but the VAR wasn't thrown into the Bundesliga until 2019? I think 2019, maybe 2020. But if you look before that, that's when Timo was putting up crazy numbers. So there could be a lot to be said about that.
Yeah, you're playing the side that's a few notches lower than you. Give yourself a half a yard, man. Just give yourself a little bit of time and then go run, because everyone in the world knows he can, and not many people can keep up with him. So it just is. You spend all this time building possession up and making a good positive move, and then it just takes all the air out of the sails, man. So it's deflating, it sucks, and it's hard to watch, and it pisses me off. Once or twice you kind of get, but those to me are unforced errors. It's just unforced errors, and it's just dumb decision making on their parts when it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to play with that close of a margin.
So here's my devil's advocate to that. Yes, they were offsides. Absolutely. Yes, they looked like shit outside of that link up that led to the Alonso goal. Players need reps.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking through, because I honestly couldn't remember the last time Kai Havertz played. In the month of January, he started one game, and outside of that, he played 55 minutes. His last appearance was January 18th, where he played for 10 minutes. Before that, it was January 5th against Tottenham. That's a long time not to play. Plus, he had COVID on top of that again. Timo Werner is kind of the same. He played 10 minutes against Brighton. He played 20 minutes against City. And he hasn't started a match since the Tottenham game at the beginning of the month. No wonder these guys look rusty. It goes back to, why is Rom still starting? He's not producing. Let these guys Kai is 22? And Timo's a little older. I think he's like 23, 24.
25.
25, thank you. But, we've talked about it like with Ziyech. At 28, 29, you know what you're getting. And with Rom at this point, it's like, you're half a season in. Make an adjustment, or not to move on, but make an adjustment or sit until you can. let these young guys come in. Let these young guys build some reps. I mean, the fan base is all on Callum Hudson-Odoi for looking like shit. Well, yeah, the guy's 20 and he's playing every third match. Same with Kai Havertz. We forget that Kai Havertz is as young as he is. And for him to have played a total of, let's see, less than 100 minutes in January, of course he looks terrible. I honestly, the Club World Cup is great. These two guys, Timo Werner and Kai Havertz, should play both matches because it's ideally against inferior competition, depending on how you look at Palmeiras, or assuming we face them in the final. But it's good reps. It's good reps, and you come back, and then you've got Premier League, you've got Champions League starting again, and these guys are ready to hit the ground running.
I'm glad you brought up Callum, because Callum's one where I feel like everyone shits on him so consistently, and I don't get it because I think he's positive and his work rate is so much higher than a lot of other players out there, especially when you compare him to Rom. I know they're not the same position, and so I know it's not 100% fair, but that boy works hard. He runs really hard, and he cares. You can tell he cares. You can tell he wants to be out there. And so for me, he's got a lot of heart, and I've got time for people that care a lot and that want to be there. So I don't really understand the blowback that he gets on a consistent basis. I like him out there, and I hope he does. And I hope Kai and Timo get their shot too. But I'm curious, Collins, who would you play if you had to play one, Kai or Timo today? Or maybe let's say like the Club World Cup finals or something. Who are you playing?
It's not Rom. I'll tell you that.
No, I gave you two options, not three.
Kai or Timo?
Yeah.
I like both. I guess it depends who we face in the final. Brazilian teams are typically a little bit more technically sound. I think Monterrey is already out, so that eliminates the Mexican side. So, I mean, unless there's a shocking upset, I think I'm playing Kai as a false nine. For playing anybody else, I'm throwing Timo out there to make runs behind a line. But I think at the moment I'm going Kai.
Harvey Vale. I'm going to ride that train into the ground.
He did not make the traveling squad, by the way.
Well, we have to postpone it just in case he got COVID. Postpone the Club World Cup because we have one positive COVID case.
Harvey can travel today. He can. He'll get there in a couple of days. He'll be fine.
Yeah, he's good to go. No, as far as who I would start, I would say Timo. I think if you can set up something where you have Cho, Timo, and Ziyech, or potentially Christian on the left. I like him more on the left side. He can attack him with his right. I think that's a better position for him. And obviously Ziyech needs to be on the right. He's been probably our best player over the last 6 weeks. I think you have Ziyech, I think you have Timo, and then I think you can kind of interchange Cho and Pulisic on the left. Or put Mount out there. Let him come inside, let him create, let him whip some balls in, let him have some shots. That would be another good option. But I would say I would like the in behind and the speed of Timo going up against what we would deem as inferior competition.
Park, what about you?
Today it's very slight edge to Kai Havertz. I just think he's a little bit more technical, and I see just a touch more polish than Timo. I like Timo a lot. That's well documented here. But if I'm going with my best 11, I think I put Kai out there.
So, but playing the how do you line up game, what did you guys think of the 4-3-3 that we were running? I mean, honestly, I was a big fan of that right side. Not a big fan of the left with Cho. Cho didn't have the greatest game, But that right side where you had Ziyech in the midfield and Mace as the right forward was something special. Those two seem to have a great pairing, and I would love to see more of it going forward. But this team is more used to three at the back. You got the wing backs and all that. We've seen the 4-3-3 though a couple times in the last couple weeks. What do you guys prefer going forward with with Reece James possibly coming back and with Chilwell continuing to be out?
I think you have to keep it with the 4-3-3. I don't see a viable option to keep running Dave into the ground. He right now is your only consistent right back. Alonso's a left back, but I wouldn't call him consistent by any stretch of the imagination. And Colin, I don't know what the numbers are on what percentage we went down the right against Plymouth, but it seemed like every single positive attack was down the right. And whether that was Ziyech, him linking up with Mount, Dave making overlapping runs. Remember, Dave made a run into the box that Ziyech found with the outside of his the outside of his left boot, right to about the 6-yard box for Dave to play across. And I don't trust. I don't think that Reece makes that run. I think Reece is a little bit more go around and then play across in. And Dave was able to find those little spaces and be a lot more positive in the attack, which is probably the most I've seen Dave in attack. He was up there a lot. And he was positive almost every single time. So I like it, but we have to be a little bit cautious of he's your only true right back. So
and then you expose yourself at the left too, right?
Yep.
Then your left kind of gets stressed, and our left back position isn't the strongest in the world either. So that makes it kind of tricky. But Collins, I think you said it right, man. The right side of the pitch was great. I really like that link up, and I really like that play. Kovacic on the left did some really good things as well. He was pretty positive. So I think 4-2-2-2 or 4-3-3, I don't know, is probably somewhere in between the two of them. I don't know if the boys don't like to stay still for any amount of time for us to figure out what their formation is. I always enjoy looking at websites and when they try to guess what their formation is, when they get the lineup sheets and things like that. I think 4 at the back is what you have to do until at least Reece comes back, and then you kind of assess where you're at. But I think 4 at the back could work really well for us. I think it gives us some more attacking options. I like seeing Dave get up when he does, but I don't think he needs to. I just think I think our midfield and wing play is creative enough to generate chances with 4 at the back.
And with that 4 at the back, we will continue to shit on Marcus Alonso on this pod. We just will. Doesn't matter what he does. Congrats on your goal. We're still going to shit on him. So I think we're all in agreement that maybe Malang Sarr is the better option at left back while Chilwell's out. Maybe debatable, but what did you guys make of Malang Sarr's performance against Plymouth Argyle? He gave up the penalty. He had some shaky moments, but overall, I thought he was positive. I thought him and Tony Rudiger were an anchor in that back, considering you had Christensen on the other side. I thought anything going down that side with Sarr and Tony was pretty easily shut down. The issues came down the other flank with David Christensen. But I have seen Sarr catch a lot of flack on social media here. So I want to gauge your guys' take on Malang Sarr. Matt, what did you think?
One of the best performances I've seen out of him. The thing that you have to understand is he also blocked 2 shots in succession, like minutes before that penalty. It was a sporadic play. It was a cleared header. He jumped in front once. It came back. He jumped in front again, hit him off the chest. Like, what more do you want from him? He won probably 17 aerial duels, and it wasn't even close. Like, he went up and got him. Early in the game, late in the game, he went up and got him. He had the one pass where he got jumped by the guy from Plymouth Argyle, which, fine, it could happen to anybody, right? We've seen it happen to Jorginho as well. We've seen it happen to Kova. We've seen it happen to almost everybody. It's something that happens. But the fact that he tracked back and busted his ass that late in the game, you have to remember, it's the 118th minute. He hasn't had a lot of time off because he was also making those runs forward in the first half. So he's got some tired legs on him, but he's still busting his ass to get back. The foul, questionable. I think the pullback on Kai was a lot clearer of a penalty than that, but I understand the decision. To me, it was a little soft, but so be it. I think for 119 minutes and 50 seconds, he had an outstanding game. And then the other 10 were just that penalty, which again, it's a little bit subjective in my opinion.
Yeah, he showed his youth and his inexperience with the give up of the penalty. Just a kind of a lapse of judgment and lapse of focus where you give away the ball, and I think he panicked a little bit. The panic is what is more concerning than the ball giveaway, but it's a mistake that can happen to anyone, and I think it's a learning moment. I think it's a teaching moment, and as a young defender, you don't get put in those situations every day where it's late. It's I don't know, it was the 117th or something. And, you give away the ball and you have that, oh shit moment, right? You have the guy that you gave the ball away to looking straight down on goal now. And you want to make up for it. You want to make that tackle from behind where you swoop in and slide and get the ball, but it just didn't happen that way. He'll learn, he'll take it and regroup with it. I thought he had a great game. I thought he had a very solid performance, and he still continues to be one of those guys that I have to think, he's house money to me. He's the guy that shouldn't have been there this season. The guy, we talk about all the guys that did go out on loan and what they are doing in other places and stuff. He's the guy that stayed and is actually making an impact for our team. And it's not what ifs or what could have been. He's actually stepping in and playing a solid role in our team and really helping us win. So I'm thankful that we have Malang Sarr. I'm happy he's with us this season. I know it's probably not the marriage that's going to end 30 years into the future where it goes forever, but it's what we need this season. And Matt, you summarized his performance pretty well. So I'll take it. I don't expect much else from him at this stage, and I thought he had a good game.
And it wouldn't be a true podcast if I didn't throw a bunch of stats at you. So here you go.
Do it.
Led the team in interceptions with 5. Led the team in clearances with 4. Led the team in block shots with 3. Rated out at a 7.95 according to Who Scored. And by the way, here are the teams here are his last 5 games. Spurs, City, Spurs, Plymouth. Clearly he is trusted. Or at the beginning of the season, I thought Malang Sarr would be lucky to fill in as like a Kurt Zuma, like 3rd, 4th string center back. The man has stepped up. For a guy who couldn't get into Porto's B team, he's playing a pretty crucial role on this team. So nothing but love for Malang Sarr, honestly, from me at this point. I will take.
And let's not forget, he was playing left back.
Yeah.
Which is not his natural position. He was playing left back for 105 minutes, something like that, until Trevor came on. Yeah, and until Alonso came on and then I think also Trev, and then he was able to slide a little bit more. I think they shifted to a 4-3-3 then, or 3-4-3, whatever it was. But how can you hate the guy who's playing out of position and he still puts out a performance like that? Yeah, he has one bad lapse of judgment, but we've seen him make that tackle how many times? That tackle from behind, that sweeping tackle, gets out in front of the ball, clears it, fine. Just a mistake. It happens. I don't think that impacts how he played at all. I think if anything, it's almost a non-conversation.
That's fair. Well, let's for our last segment here, let's turn our eyes ahead. We're past Plymouth. We're out of the fourth round of the FA Cup. This week, Club World Cup, a trophy that the club has never won. I remember watching it back in 2013 after we beat Bayern in the Champions League, and it was in Japan, and having to wake up at 2 a.m. to watch us shit the bed. Thank God they're playing in Dubai, because this week it looks like the games are going to be at 10 a.m. Central Time here in the States, which is a relief. Looks like we're going to be facing Al Hilal. Is that who won 6-1, most goals scored in a match in Club World Cup history. Take that though with a grain of salt, looking at who all plays in the Club World Cup. How do you guys think we do in this competition? Is this a priority for the club?
Yes. I think we use it as a tool in our tool belt to kind of get into form and into fitness, seeing where we just kind of came from. But I think Tuchel doesn't shy away from any trophy or any hardware that he can bring home. It's kind of a quick trip. It's not a 13-week grind of a schedule. It's 2 quick matches in a week. So I think Tuchel will do what he can to bring it home.
Yeah, I think it is a priority. We've talked about this a couple weeks ago. The Premier League is more about top 4, I think, at this point. Not to take away anything, we're still going to put our best teams out there every single week. But I think the goal this year is shifted more towards hardware than anything else. So, obviously we're in the finals of Carabao. We're moving on we're hopefully going to be moving on in the FA Cup. We are moving on in the FA Cup. And now you have the Club World Cup. We're still in Champions League. I think that as much hardware as you can get this year, that's kind of going to be the main focus. Obviously, we would all love it if Chelsea won the Premier League again. And I don't think we'd shy away from that. But I think Tuchel is taking a look at it realistically of what we should focus on, and not try and win everything, but win the things that are at least within our grasp. And
I assume that Tuchel is going to continue to be out. I don't think he can legally travel with COVID, so I think you're going to see Arno going for the win here. Taking a look at the squad that they're sending, I didn't see any youth guys in that squad. It looked like a basic Champions League squad to me of 25 players. So we've got Al Hilal, which we all assume is going to be a win on Wednesday. And then honestly, you're looking at probably Palmeiras out of Brazil on Saturday in the final. And with this being a competition, again, that the club has never won, we heard Petr Cech this week say that that's kind of driving the guys, that this is fresh ground for them to stake claim to. I think they go all out, and Matt, like you said, I think this is a great building block for the rest of the month going forward, because after this you have Crystal Palace in the league, you have Lille in the Champions League, you have Leicester in the league, and then you have Liverpool in the Carabao Cup final. Going from Plymouth to Al Hilal to Palmeiras to back to the Premier League is a great build-up. It's a great gradual build-up after having 2 weeks off of football. And, honestly, I think the club need it, and putting those first team guys minus Rom out in the competitive situations, I think is going to be beneficial. And honestly, if we don't win this competition, I'm going to be disappointed. I have wanted a Chelsea jersey with that Club World Cup winners patch right in the center for years. Get it to me, Chelsea. I want it.
Take my money.
Yes. So, but let's talk about, speaking of the Club World Cup, AFCON's over now. Edouard Mendy saves a penalty.
He did.
Stuff.
He's learning from Kepa.
Yeah. Mo Salah cries, which is good. We like that. Joe probably does not. But who do you put in goal? I know we talked about this last week, but who do you put in goal?
For cup ties, you almost can't argue with Kepa right now. I think anything that has the potential to go to pens, you almost have to play them because they seem fairly equal otherwise, and that's been the differentiator. I know Mendy did save one, which is great, and the one that Kepa saved was probably not the best taken penalty on the planet either, right? It was hit kind of low and kind of right at him, and he just kind of fell and was able to corral it. But he did make the save nonetheless. And I think for Tuchel, we said it last week or 2 weeks ago, Collins, like you said, but I think you ride Mendy in the league, and I think you ride Kepa in some cups, as you sort of have already established. It's an easy sell to the guys, and it's an easy sell internally to the club. And then you get the added benefit of Kepa doing the saves. But the only other thing I could see is if you kind of get down to it, you can make a late sub for Kepa to come on for the pens, which is not seen very often. But how often do you have a situation like this? So I would play him. I would play him for the ones where you can win hardware, man. He's proven himself, and he's leaps and bounds better than what he used to be.
I'm a little bit torn right now, because Kepa has been living up to the price tag. Mendy has far surpassed his price tag. We all know Mendy's taller and all that stuff. He does. And the thing that we talked about a few weeks ago was about Mendy, and like his reaction time seemed off. Maybe AFCON has changed that. Maybe he's kind of gotten back to that form that we saw, 2 months ago. Things like that. So I'm hoping that's the case. And Parker, I was actually thinking about that too, of the late sub. My only issue with that is how much money do you put on not having somebody get injured when you're down to your final sub, or somebody coming up with like a hand.
Yeah, good point. I would do it like in the 119th minute, like right before pens.
If it's an option, right? Like if it's an option, let's say somebody gets injured, but do you really want to save one sub for the entire match when you think one person could go help and win it, versus playing for the tie and then making sure that Kepa comes on? That would be my only, that's you're either damned if you do, kind of damned if you don't. So it's just an interesting dynamic that we have now, because before it was always Mendy, yep, number one, not even close. Well, they're pretty damn close now. And to me, it's tough. I still think I do agree you need Mendy for your finals, or any big games that you have. I think you need Mendy, but Kepa has proven himself over the last 2 months to be more than serviceable as a backup. So I think right now, either way, we're in great hands, literally.
Yeah, I think this tournament is Kepa's. Honestly, if you go out and you win AFCON, or in our case in America, you go out and you win the Gold Cup, you're probably going to get shithoused that night, right?
Yeah.
I assume it's the same in AFCON. So you take into account a hangover day and a travel day. Mendy's not necessarily back for Wednesday. Why fly him all the way to Dubai and then back to England for a possible championship match and all that? So let Mendy take some time off. Let him take some time to recover. Go back, work at Cobham for a little bit, do a little strength training, whatever they do there, and let Kepa just keep riding this wave.
Mm-hmm.
Kepa's played well. He is now the co-leader in the flag stays down man of the match for the season. Him and Mason Mount tied on 4. Every time that he has played, he's played well. So Kepa, do your thing in this tournament. Win us some silverware. Get me a patch, and then turn it over to Mendy as we head into Crystal Palace.
How many times has Mendy won that award, Collins? I'm going to put you on the spot.
2.
Okay. I only ask because it seems odd for a goalie to win it. Like, it has to be kind of crazy for a goalie to win man of the match, I guess.
To be fair, we had 2 or 3 League Cup games go to penalties. So, I mean, he has to be the big winner there. But
I know he wanted it for the Brentford match, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, he's doing his part, right? He's got a great relationship with Mendy. We talk about Mendy leaving his towel for Kepa and everything like that, just having that little bit of good fortune or good luck, whatever it is. And it's an interesting thing because Kepa could have easily just kind of folded, right? Especially after the run that he had where teams weren't even worried about getting into the box. They would just fire from range and it would probably go in. It's not like that anymore. And I think he's got the trust of the defense to where they can do their jobs a little bit more efficiently, where they're not trying to stop them, 30 yards outside the box. They can let him get in the box. I thought he played great. He had a lot of good punches. Probably had about 4 or 5 off of corners or crosses or set pieces that came in. The Plymouth goal, no, we don't chalk that up to Kepa. That's, I think, on Rom. Granted, he's not a natural defender, but at the same time, when you're 6'3" and you can't get off the ground or time a header or win an aerial duel, that's on you. I really think that Kepa has proven himself to be I wouldn't say a world-class keeper, but a damn good one. Definitely, you could see him starting for any mid-Premier League side, no problem, especially with the form that he's been in. Unfortunately, he's been behind Mendy, and Mendy's he hasn't had a reason to lose that spot yet, but Kepa's making an argument now. And I think that's good because it's going to drive Kepa. It's going to drive Mendy, knowing now that Mendy's looking back and seeing Kepa like, oh, he's playing really well, which means I got to up my game. Competition's always good. It's either going to tell you who's going to fold, or it's going to make people a lot better because they aren't going to want to lose their spot. So I see everything that Kepa's been doing. When Mendy comes back, I see it all as probably the best case scenario for Chelsea going forward, because you're going to have 2 keepers who are going to be looking for that number 1 spot.
And it means high transfer price for Kepa when he eventually leaves.
Yes.
All right. So real quick, as we end here, we can't go a whole pod without a gun to your head. Speaking of Spanish keepers, gun to your head, who do you take, Kepa or David De Gea?
In one match or all time?
One match. Well, based on current form.
De Gea? Probably.
I would say De Gea.
I'd go Kepa. United's conceded a lot of goals this year, And
look at their defense.
Well, yeah,
it doesn't have a lot protecting them.
Yeah, I mean that's fine, but Kepa's got Alonso in front of him, and
but he's also got Rudy. He's also got Rudy and Thiago Silva to help out with a lot of that.
Dave, Trev, Andreas Christensen. I mean, he's got serviceable D. I mean, it's not the best in the world, but he's got a serviceable D. I think De Gea is just saving more shots, and it's a factor of who's what he's got against him. But he's saving a hell of a lot of shots these days. So current form, yeah.
I think he's the better shot stopper out of the two. If you're looking at like a one-on-one, I would trust De Gea slightly over Kepa right now.
Penalties though, Kepa.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right. That's what I meant.
Oh, penalties, Kepa.
I wouldn't take anyone over Kepa today in penalties.
All right. Yep. Well, on that note, we are pushing the hour here. So we certainly thank everyone for listening. We want to thank Lennox10 for his question. If you do ever have any questions, any topics you want us to cover, feel free to shoot us a message on social media. You can follow the podcast at FlagDownPod on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can follow me at Comiskey North, Parker at DJ Parkour, and Matt at Matus. Is it Matus?
Yep.
Matus Lee. Polish. Yep.
Slightly.
And we do now have a YouTube. Woo! So you can go see our lovely faces at youtube.com. Just search Flag Stays Down. Otherwise, if you're into podcasting, you want to check us out on an audio kind of format, Spotify, Apple, Google, all the usuals. Just look at Flag Stays Down. Boys, it's been a pleasure again. Glad to have you back. And here's to me getting a new patch on the jersey, right?
Looking forward to that. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy.
All right. Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
I'm all potted out.